Welcome to One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I'm your host, guide, and coach on this journey, Dr. P, Dr. Wayne Pernell. Today is a special one. Today's guest is Dekel Skoop. He's a mission-driven tech founder who has built and scaled numerous companies focused on serving the underserved. He's a Forbes 30 under 30 honoree and former CEO of a web accessibility company. Today, he brings that same mindset to cybersecurity, helping small and mid-sized businesses protect themselves in an increasingly complex digital world. Welcome to the program, Dekel Skoop. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pernell. And you got the scoop, they say. Nice to meet you.
Very good.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. And you're free to call me Wayne or Dr. P. It's all good. Dr. Pernell is always so formal, right? So,
I will go with Wayne. I like the
oh,
name Wayne, by the way.
very good. Excellent. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing. You were doing, we're sharing with the audience your leadership lessons along the way. And I'm curious about what was if you could describe the accessibility company that you had and how it really served the underserved. Talk a little bit about how you got there, and then we'll dive into a little bit of what you're doing now and where you're headed.
Of course. So let's take it way back before we came up with the idea of creating web accessibility for the underserved. Talking about roughly 7, 8 years ago, the only way to make your digital assets accessible was if you have a lot of money, a lot of time, and expertise in doing so, which means by default that the majority of business owners who want to make their digital assets accessible is underserved and can't do it, even though regulation will come up later on and enforce them to do what need to be done to be accessible, which is very important, obviously. It's a basic request for everything, just like the physical world who has to be accessible for everybody. The internet and the digital world should be accessible as well. But there's complexities, and back at the time, it used to be almost impossible for small, medium businesses to become accessible, as later on regulation will come and force them to do so. We encountered this challenge because we used to own a marketing agency. We used to build websites and manage them, maintain marketing efforts, design efforts all across the border to manage your websites and marketing. And our customers need to become accessible. And we knew the classic ways to make website accessible back then, and we gave them an offer, and it was too pricey and too complex for those SMBs to become accessible. So we had
Let
to.
me ask you a question, just for the sake of definition, right? When we think about accessibility, we think about how to use something, right? So when you're talking about something not being accessible, who are you serving specifically? Is the site impaired? Is it the mobility impaired? Is it the general population that just doesn't know
Okay.
how to make use, right? Can you just define who you're actually serving?
So let's take a step back. We served two types of communities. On one hand, the users of those websites, these are individuals who are living with disability and they want to use a website and they need a website to accommodate their situation. On the other hand, the website's owner, the businesses who are having the website and need to become accessible and don't know how to do it.
I got you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Communities that we have to serve. On one hand, the website owners who want to become accessible, don't know how to do it, and have very limited resources. On the other hand, the audience who are using those websites, the customers of those businesses, who are want to have an equal access to those websites. Yeah, so those
Got
are
it.
them.
Good.
So audience want to go and acquire a certain product on a certain website, on a certain brand website. If the website is not accessible for that individual who is living with a certain disability, he won't be able to acquire that product like someone who is not living with the same disability. So it's inequality online right there. It's like not putting a ramp to someone who's using a wheelchair in the entrance of a store and having only stairs. And then you are serving only those who can walk the stairs, but you're not serving those who can't walk the stairs. That's the
Great.
idea behind it. Yeah. I hope
Great.
it's clearer now.
Yeah, everyone deserves to have access, really, right? So,
Right?
and that's so I want to back up the clock even further. What got you interested? Why? Usually that's based in some passion or something, someone close to you, or like what got you started in serving the underserved in that way and in creating accessibility? I'm just like this is where the human part of you comes through, right? So
I'm a very call to action kind of guy. When I see something is not working or is something is not right, I would like to fix it. So I think looking at that lens, we found the problem and we wanted to fix that problem. We were also lucky that by fixing this problem and serving those audiences, we're doing something good for the world. This is something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be able to make a living while doing good. I think it's a gift, and I feel very honored and lucky that I was able to do it and still able to
yeah,
do it. And in my personal situation, I don't want to say it's a reason of what I did and why I did that. In my family, we are living with a genetic disorder called arthrogryposis that for some people in my family caused more severe situation regarding their ability to walk or to run or to even, stand. And some less. I'm living with a very minor challenge that came with that uh, genetic disorder.
mm,
Uh, Siblings in my family had it more severe, and other family members had it more severe. So my life were always around physiotherapy and access for people who need some more help, or how to overcome physical challenges you were born with and live with. Maybe that's a part of what built my character, and also what would draw me, uh, pulled me, sorry, into the world of accessibility, maybe. But I don't want to say that that's the main reason. It probably gave some color and tastes around what attracted me. But as I said, it's a mixture of a lot of things, probably.
yeah. That's great. It offers some context because usually, in my experience, people get into serving the underserved because they're close to it in some way. So thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
What
S- So let's talk a little bit about, you saw a problem. You've always been action oriented and you saw a problem and fixed it. There are a lot of problems to fix. So, that's also why when it's close to you, it's like, well, now it means something. You gain purpose when you give meaning to something, right? And so this is great.
But
How,
let's talk about, if you're okay with the backbone of almost every developed economy, which are the small and medium businesses. On one hand, there's so much on their shoulders helping the economy of a certain country. On the other hand, they always end up underserved by technology, innovation, services. And I think that's also something that I like to do in my career. And you can see it through the years. I was myself a small medium business owner. I had 4 restaurants and bars before I established my marketing agency. And then I jumped into the software side of things to provide a solution for small medium businesses. And also now with Guard, cybersecurity for SMBs and MSPs, mainly MSPs, to help SMBs. I'm still doing that. I think that's more of like a trajectory of why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I'm going. And there's some repetitivity around it as well.
cool. So cybersecurity, the name is Guards, Guardz, right?
Or
Okay. And that is quite a trajectory from bars to marketing to accessibility to cybersecurity. It's all it's funny because in some ways it's all customer service based. It's all like,
It's all
right?
about relationships.
Good. Yeah.
Everything is relationship internally with the people you work with and the people you build products with and the people you're going to market with. On the other hand, the people you serve, it's a relationship. People want to work with people they feel comfortable, safe, trusted. So again, from marrying my wife, who I love for the last 15 years together, it's a relationship. Raising my kids' relationship, working with my partners and my colleagues, and serving the customers I work with. It's all
Great.
about building the right relationship, I believe. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you and I had a conversation not that long ago, and one of the things that you brought up, which really struck a chord with me, was along the lines of relationships. It's how you run the business. It's how you um, focus on what's important to you. And what you said that it's about people, it's about process, and then it's about the product. Do you want to talk a little bit about that philosophy?
Of course. I was lucky enough to have a lot of very smart, successful people supporting me and helping me to learn how to keep on going. I'm doing a lot of things for the first time as an entrepreneur, as a CEO or startup founder. And I think the best way to start is to ask people who've done that, been there, that will give you some color. So one of the first things I've learned was that when you look at an organization, small or big, it doesn't matter. There's a certain way to start building. You start with the structure, which is the people and what those people are going to be responsible of. You put the right people, put them in the right place. That's structure, talent, and responsibilities. And then you look at processes that those people are going to run in the business. And at the end of the day, it's the instruments that allows you to scale those processes and allows those individuals to excel in what they do. So it's structure people, you can call it all structural people, it's processes and then instruments. That's the way I see it.
I'm taking some notes because this is good. People, the processes, and then the instruments. Um, right. And it doesn't really matter what the product itself is. It could be a service, it could be a physical product. You always start with structure. How did that
Always start with the people.
say that again?
Always start with the people, it's their
Always
structure.
start with the people. Good. Um, what belief did you have early in your career, because you've been in leadership from a bar to a marketing agency to, numerous other companies. You've you've had different beliefs as a leader in each of those organizations. What belief has stuck with you, and what belief did you take on early and then realize that you had to let go of to grow even further?
One big thing I've learned in a scaling organization that is kept on changing and growing, change is the only constant. Okay? The only thing for sure is that changes will come. And you always need to be as flexible as possible with what the change will bring upon your company, organization, your team, whatever you're running. You always need to be able to go after the cheese that is kept on being moving away from you. There's cheese you want to go and get. There's a great book, Cheese,
Right, right.
explains the psychology behind it. So you always need to be able to refigure new ways to get where you're going to get because it always changes, especially in the world we're living today that everything keeps on moving, sometimes too fast even. But that's the life we live. Humanity always trying to get better, which means things will keep on changing, evolving, and moving around. We can learn a lot from history, but we always need to know that tomorrow will probably look different than today and we need to embrace it and accept it and not come against it. And that's one big thing that I've learned. So when I have people to work with me, I'm always looking for people who will be open for trying new things, learning new things, changing their mindset. Maybe if it's a very small change, but to get where they need to get, I think that's the right way to run. If someone is too in love or too stuck in the idea he had for too long, it's going to be outdated one day. And then it's very hard to pull that person towards the day we are facing and not stuck in the past as he is. So I think that's one thing.
That's great. You said a bunch that I actually want to repeat. So one of the things is in a growing organization, one thing you can be sure of is that changes will come. And I love that because it's like in life, right? Changes will come. You and
I
I.
love analogies. So think about that way. You come and establish an organization, you hire 10, 20 people. 10, 20 people, you manage them in a certain way with a certain processes and certain tools. Your company keeps on growing. In a year, those 20 people became 40, 50. By design, the business has changed. And also, usually, when those things are happen, product that you're selling probably also change. The customer base that you're serving sometimes may change as well. So by design, if you're successful at what you're doing, change will come, and you need to be ready for it. A very smart and successful mentor I had always told me that my job as a leader, or rather CEO, or a manager, or executive, is to always have a plan a year or 2 years ahead of what's happening today and understand how, if we're successful, I have a path towards that plan. It doesn't mean that now you need to do things you're doing in 2 years. It means that what you're doing now should complement the journey of where you need to be or want to be or going to be in 2 years. So by design, if you're successful at what you're doing, change will come. And you need to embrace it and be lucky that change is coming if you're successful because you keep on growing and moving the organization.
I
And it
love.
comes all across the board. The way you hire people, the way you manage those people, the tools you're using, everything will change.
Yes. Yes. That's so good. Cool. I want to repeat some of this because I think it's worth repeating. I think it's really great. Right. So one more time. In a growing organization, the one thing you can be sure of is that change will come. And then I'm going to jump ahead to something you just said, which is this is like blog post worthy. I love this. By design, if you're successful in what you're doing, change will come.
You know you are bigger than the life you are leading. It really is time to attend to that thing you've wanted to do or have, but you've been putting off. It's time to step into that dream you've parked for someday. It's time to claim true well-being, both personally and professionally, without giving up the success that got you here. It's time to check out Dr. Pernell's signature small group retreat, the Exponential Success Summit. Explore exponentialsuccesssummit.com. Seats are extremely limited as this is a very special small group event. www.exponentialsuccesssummit.com.
And I don't know that anybody really thinks about it that way, that it's like, oh no, we are planning to change. We're planning to grow. If you do that for yourself, and I do organizational consulting and I do one-to-one coaching. And I think if you think about that for yourself as an individual, by design, you must change, right? You need to grow and change. So, and then the idea of having a plan for 2 years out and what you're doing now should feed that 2 year plan. And I'm going to add to that, which is, and that 2 year plan continues to be on the horizon so that as a month or two goes by, you're still creating a plan for another 2 years, like a rolling 2 years out. So what you're doing today feeds tomorrow. I
You
think
also need
that,
to be careful not to plan too far ahead. So there's always like a bracket of timing, and it might vary depending on the business, depending on the DNA, depending on the market. But you should have some sort of future roadmap where you should go. You should revisit this roadmap once in a while, obviously, to see that it
yeah.
really works alongside the reality. And then you need to have the steps to take you towards that place. And I would like to segue this into what take you to this outcome you want to achieve, and it's the people you choose to work with. And one of the biggest things I've learned, turning myself from a founder who's doing everything with my partners and the co-founders to a CEO who need to bring other people to do the things I used to do before, but do better than me now as we grew, is that as a leader, I think your job is to make sure that every person you bring into the room, into your team, is better than you in what he needs to do now. Well, I used to like to say to the managers around me that in every management meeting, I am trying to make sure that I am the most stupid guy in the room, let's call it, or not, obviously not smartest kid in the room. If I'm the smartest kid in the room, I made a wrong decision as a leader. I need to surround myself with people who are smarter than me in the areas they manage. So that's where you can scale a business and make it better. If you bring people who you are better than them, you're going to keep telling them what to do instead of they telling you what needs to be done in order to get to where you want to go. So your job as a leader is to mark the destiny we are going to go and the goal we're going to have, but your management and your teams will tell you how to get there. Because they will, if you hire right, bring people who have more experience in those specific areas that allows you to excel and scale the business. One person can do so much. And the moment the organization grows, it's time to bring people in and make sure that those people know their job better than you. And then you can scale the business successfully.
It's a great formula for scaling, right? Make sure that you are hiring the right people. How do you go about hiring? What kind of great interviews do you do? You know, when you look for somebody, you've already said you're looking for somebody who shows flexibility. How do you find that out?
You want to test a few things while bringing someone into your team. Okay? You want to make sure that the culture of the person will match team culture. So it's character. You want to make sure that the experience will match what the company is missing or trying to achieve. All right? And you want to make sure that that person has the right knowledge and the common sense around taking the right decision. I think common sense is one of the most important traits you can have when you run a company. So
how do you measure that? Because
it's very hard.
yeah, it is very hard. What I've noticed is that you know, I had a mentor years ago who used to say common sense is not common practice. And it's like that is all too true. We see that everywhere. Common sense is just not common practice. Like people say they have common sense. How do you measure it? How do you you know, it's hard to put your finger on, I would think, but how do you measure what's your measure for common sense? Let me ask you that.
Let's start like a doctor diagnosis with the elimination thing. It's easier. If there's a doubt, there's no doubt when it comes to hiring. During the hiring process, if you find a big problem and you're doubting it, it means it might be not the right thing. So you need to move on, even if it's going to take you more time to hire. It's very important. Hiring is one of the most important processes building the right organization. So let's start with elimination. If there's a doubt, there's no doubt. If by default this person doesn't have one or two of the things that is important for you, so let's move on. And when it comes to common sense in particular, you're totally right that it's super hard to measure it. And the more you are meeting the person and the more you guys are talking and experiencing, it's easier to see all of those intricacies. But for every position, there's at least for my company and everywhere I go, when I build hiring processes to my teams, for every position, there's a few different things we want to check. All of them will have the same DNA matching practices that we're doing, obviously. And then for every position, you want to check other things. In some areas, you want someone who's a bit more quantitative and someone who's a bit more qualitative. And then you build the right tests and tasks to check that out. For some hiring, I would like to bring more team members to give an assessment and say what they think, what they feel about this person. So it's hard for me to tell you that there's one process I run all across the board. There's a few processes depending on the position and depending on the seniority of the individual. But in all of them, there's the personal interview, we're trying to see the personality of the person, which I usually do and the HR is doing as well. There is a portion of home assignment or task in almost all of them, depending on what you're doing. There is a portion of presenting, how you present stuff, how you show stuff. And that, by the way, it's a great way to see common sense. If someone nailed it and understood 1 + 1 = 2, or get more complex, it's easier to see it. And when it comes to hire very, very close to me employees, they also almost always go to dinner. You know, getting out of the office, go to eat with someone, drinking someone with them, something with him, and open up to really get a bit more of this person and his beliefs and his common sense, by the way, because you get to hear a lot more about his day to day, and he's getting out of the shell of interviewing and letting you hear only the right things. And when you go to dinner, all of the shields are getting off. You are exposing yourself as more vulnerable, and then by default, the other side feels more comfortable and allows himself to also be open to you. And that's a great time to get all the question marks you had during the interview process out there. I always
I've
do
heard
it.
of CEOs. I've heard of CEOs taking prospects to dinner, prospective employees to dinner. And
I have a funny story about one. I lived in New York back then, and I hired a executive to my team. And we ate and drank, and the conversation was very interesting, and it was very important position for me and my company in specific, due to the board structure we had. So I really wanted to manage this person, and I wanted to be 100% sure this guy. So it ran 3.5, 4 hours dinner. My wife thought I was kidnapped or got a cat. So I didn't look at my phone even for one moment for 4 hours. And she managed to find a way to call that candidate and ask him if he's dinnering with me right now. And he's like, your wife is calling me. I don't even know how she got my number. So that's how deep I go when I want to hire a very important position. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it's an interesting kind of process that your wife went through to get to you, but that's awesome. So sometimes when CEOs will take prospective team members out to dinner, they look for certain things. That's how they see the traits of the other person. How does that person treat the wait staff? How does that person deal with frustration if something's not right on their plate? Are those the kinds of things that you're looking for as well?
Of course, all of the above. You see manners, how they reacting and treating other servers, for example, or people who are having their time there, patience. You can get to learn a lot on someone by eating with them and drinking with them, by the way. So
You can. That's true. Let's talk for a few minutes before we wrap up. Let's talk for a few minutes about what it is you're doing with guards specifically. This is your new company. It's been around for, I don't remember how long. It's within a year or so, right? You
less than a year, less than 6 months. Yeah,
less than 6 months, so
very
it's
true.
really new. So what specifically does it do, and who are you serving, and what opportunities and what challenges are you seeing coming your way right now?
Maybe more than a bit. So in Guard right now, I am the Chief Business Officer, and we are serving solely MSPs, managed service providers, and empowering them to protect their customers, who are mainly SMBs, small medium businesses, in the digital arena. We are helping them to protect everything they need, A to Z, and we're doing it in a very, very efficient way and affordable way. Today, there's too many tools MSPs are using while protecting their customers, securing the customer, and our mission was to unify it and making it all in one platform, all in one place, and connecting the dots for them as well, getting insights for them as they work, instead of they need to go and work with 3, 4, 5 different solutions and doing all of the dot connection on their own without the abilities of AI and machine learning that we have in our system. So We came into a very fractured world and united into one platform that does everything you need to protect your customers.
So you're streamlining and, as you said, uniting digital security for small and mid-sized businesses.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And
we're doing it while allowing the MSP to improve dramatically its operation efficiency.
That's great. How do you measure success with something like that?
First and foremost, the satisfaction of the customers. When they're coming to us and told us that they can finally present to their customers a right security posture and can really understand what's happening with all of the security posture of their customers, that they feel safe, they feel protected, they can trust us and know that we're going to stand behind what we're promising them. I think that's a great way to measure. We're also running a lot of internal tests on everything we do. We're improving the products day in, day out with a very strong R&D and product team that we invested a lot of time, money, and effort on doing so. You can see the growth of the organization, a lot of MSP really moving from outdated, older softwares or processes or instruments towards our platform. And I think that's a great testament of what we do.
Great. That's great.
Our organization is growing dramatically fast. I joined 6 months ago, roughly, to a 2-man team, and this team is right now around 20 people already. And
wow,
growing. Yeah.
20 is a big team. It's amazing.
Out of 120 right now in total around the globe. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
What's next? So it's always improving the product. That's always what we do when you're selling a product and software. That's one. Improving the way we serve our customers, understanding a lot more their pains, cater and nurture those pains better and better as we go, and keep on learning and evolving. The mission in life, I believe, it's always be better tomorrow than what you were yesterday. That's the idea. Even if it's a small move towards better, do it. Every day, a small move towards being better. And then if you look at it retrospective, it's a very long journey. So I think that's the idea. And we live in a world that is constantly evolving, new software coming in, new processes coming in, AI, LLM, generative, ChatGPT, you name it. And you always need to be with your hand on the pulse and learning what's going on, what can help me, what is noise, and it's very important to always, be mindful what's going on around you.
I think that's great. So is there anything, Dekel, that I haven't asked you that you thought I'd ask you or you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered almost everything we wanted to speak about in a former meeting.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if
very precise person.
If our audience wanted to reach you, well, I wanted to pause along the way and call out some of the leadership lessons that you've offered, which I think is great. So hiring is so important. Common sense is hard to measure. Success is measured through feedback from customers who report feeling safe and protected. I love all of that. And I think, I keep going back to, by design, if you're successful in what you're doing, change will come. I think that's like the takeaway of all of this, at least for me. If any of our audience wants to reach you, what's the best way? Is it LinkedIn?
Yeah, I assume LinkedIn is the best way. Dekel Skoop, Dekel Skoop. That's my name. I'm very accommodating and I love to meet new people. I love to learn new things. And I believe that every person you meet can teach you at least one thing that you didn't know before. So I'm very open for it. And I would love to also help people if I can. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Very good. All right. LinkedIn, Dekel Skoop, Dekel Skoop. Great. Dekel, it's great to have you here. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk. And again, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All righty. This is One Sharp Sword Cutting Through to What Matters Most. My guest today was Dekel Skoop. I am Dr. P, Dr. Wayne Pernell, and we will see you here next time. Thank you.